Item 11.1 is an ordinance amending Rancho Cordova Municipal Code, Chapter 16.20, updating the chapter and establishing a rental housing inspection program. Recommendation is to waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance, and staff report to be given by
Mr. Mayor. Kurt Haven, Director of Economic Development, City of Rancho Cordova. It's again a pleasure to bring to you an ordinance that again is a promise of cityhood, and that is to improve the housing standards of our community. This rental inspection program is a proactive program that we will have in our city that will go out and inspect our rental housing. When we talk about rental housing, we mean apartment complexes, townhouses, duplexes, and homes that are owned by others where there's renters and people paying rent. This program we worked on for about 9-10 months, and I want to thank my staff for their due diligence and their input on this. We also worked really closely with the Rental Housing Association and the Human Rights and Fair Housing Commission. This is a partnership, we feel a very good partnership and a good ordinance, again, that will help increase the standards of living in Rancho Cordova. So to walk you through this program, I'd like to introduce Jose Sanchez and Carrie Simpson, our Neighborhood Services Manager, and Jose is with the City Attorney's Office.
Hi, thank you for having us here today. We're really excited. I know everybody's been looking forward to hearing about our rental housing inspection program. As you know, we do enforce substandard housing in rental properties. We have been doing that reactively when we get a complaint from a resident. What we would like to do is move forward and become a lot more proactive. A lot of residents tell us when we're out at the site that one of the reasons they don't call us is because they're scared that they may be retaliated against. Now, that's not to say all landlords are bad landlords. I don't mean to insinuate that, but people are scared that they're going to lose their housing. And we feel that the housing in Rancho Cordova really needs to be thoroughly looked at and brought up to minimum standards. We do have some nice apartment complexes, and so the way that we would like to fund this program is through fines and fees against landlords that have the substandard housing, having them bear the brunt of the costs and not make it fall upon the shoulders of the landlords and property owners that actually have good housing stock. One of the other things that's really positive about this is that we would have a registration as part of the program, and Jose will talk a little bit about that. But about this time last year, I got a call from a complex, and 2/3 of the heating units were out. And I had one cell phone number for the property owner, and I couldn't get him to get back to me, and so we had a couple of weeks where people were no heating. And that just isn't acceptable as far as I'm concerned, and it certainly isn't up to the minimum state requirements. So having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Jose to talk to you a little bit about the logistics of the code, and then we have a few pictures here of some of the complexes and apartments that we've already been through so far. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, as Kurt and Carrie have stated, one of the main goals was to become proactive. The rental housing inspection program offers the city the tool to do that. Currently, we adopted most of the municipal code from the county upon incorporation. One of the chapters was 1620, which adopted the city's housing code. Now, with that housing code, there was no inspection program. It was reactive. Therefore, code enforcement had to receive a complaint to go out there. As code enforcement, now Carrie has come in, the code enforcement department has been advancing towards being proactive, going out there, and they're really proactive now. But we needed a tool. We needed a tool in place that would actually keep track of these properties and become mandatory. What the ordinance does is there's a lot of sections that simply clean up the chapter, 1620, that in order to place in the housing code enforcement program, such as the purposes, the findings, definitions, notice and orders, appeal hearings, and all this does is it's not a new section, but all it does is just clean up the old chapter that we inherited from the county. What the main portion of the ordinance is the rental housing inspection program. The rental housing inspection program allows the city to conduct periodic inspections on rental housing property. And the purpose of these inspections are to make sure that the rental property is up to standards, up to the state law, compliant with with local laws. And Cary has a great group that go out there and would actually be doing the inspections. We are requiring a registration requirement for rental property in order to keep track of what properties are being rented in the city, and in order to make it easy, just as far as going out there, checking off the ones we've hit, and having a list of the other properties we need to visit. The registration requirement would require the owners to fill out a form, and Neighborhood Services is currently putting this form together. It will have the name and contact information of at least one property owner, the property manager, property address, the number of residential units. But one of the most important things in this registration requirement is to have an emergency contact. Several situations, you go out there where the property is just falling apart and you can't get a hold of anybody. You try to call the owner. Well, the owner doesn't pick up the phone. What do? You go through summary abatement if it's an actual issue that's the house is falling down or causing a danger. But the easiest way to handle a lot of these problems is to simply have a contact information that you can actually pick up the phone and they will be there shortly. Another element of the ordinance is the rental housing education. Now, working with the Rental Housing Association, one of the things they brought up was, well, why not have an education program? A portion of this ordinance that would require the owners of this rental property or the management property, or both, to have to attend these rental housing education programs. Currently, the ordinance is set up so if your property has severe conditions on it, just something that the director, code enforcement officer goes out there and says, this is something, this is not the ordinary, oh, okay, fix this, fix that. This property is really gone. It's really bad. Or if it's just keeps repeat offenders, or they keep going back and more violations. Then they would have to go to this program, to this education program, which will be taught by organizations such as the Rental Housing Association. The program will cover the rights and responsibilities of residential rental owners, property managers, agents of owners and tenants, procedures for conducting interior and exterior rental property inspections, the code enforcement process, and we'll go over the state laws and local laws with them. As Cary mentioned, one of the main goals was to not impose a big fee on the owners. The purpose of it is to impose penalties on violators. The way this program is going to establish and going to operate is by using the Rental Housing Code compliance fee, which is currently being collected, using grants and fines and penalties collected from violators. It is very important that we try to keep the costs down if you're doing what you need to be doing out there. If you have your property in a great condition, then you shouldn't be hit with the brunt of the fee. This compliance fee is set up in the ordinance, so it will be reviewed annually to make sure that it is covering the costs and not becoming a huge burden on the city.
So, having